Right, welcome back everybody. Let's have a look at ADA then, shall we? So nothing much to report on the very low time frames, but what I can say is that we are looking at this for all alts, which is the total two, is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin, which is basically all altcoins apart from Bitcoin, and the market cap of all of them combined. So it's a bit of a rough estimate, a rough figure, but what we are looking for and what we are waiting for is for us to break above this 200 EMA, and for this 50 to cross above the 200 EMA, forming a golden cross. That will bring us up to what we looked at around this level here. Well, to be honest with you, it's this level here, which is April 1st. If you remember what happened at April 1st, that was when essentially the market really took off. Bitcoin had already exploded by 1,000, and then we were looking at all the alts kind of following it, and not just following it, but alts were going crazy. So that happened at this level here, and what happened when we broke above it was that we turned it into a support for a few times before we broke down beneath it. But by the time we come back down beneath it, the gap between the 50 and the 200 EMA had begun to close so much that the golden cross essentially formed, and then look what happened at this level here. Once the golden cross formed, we launched, and then obviously we crashed because the whole market went parabolic, tired itself out, and now we're sort of just coming out of the hangover. This is kind of like, if you went out on Friday night, carried on to Saturday night, really pushing it. Sunday you're hungover as hell, which is all this is, and Monday morning you go back to work and you're like this. But now we're kind of around midweek. We're looking forward towards our next weekend, where we will be going crazy again once we've broken above this 200 EMA, and then the golden cross will form. You could probably class that as a bank holiday weekend, because this one will be a bit more of a run than this one, I would expect. I do expect this golden cross to form with an alt season that will be a lot better than this previous one, because the market cap will basically have increased, and there'll be a lot more money involved in alts and the crypto market in general. So yeah, a bank holiday weekend session will have been created probably by January next year. So what does this mean for ADA? With all my stupid metaphors that probably, I don't know if you can relate to that, but let's talk actual prices then at the moment. So at the moment, ADA has fallen from the sky. One of those coins that went parabolic after that whole April area. So you can see how it really shot up in price, and then just completely just couldn't take it. So what I would say is that these levels here suggest to me that because it couldn't get any higher than this, that this is going to be a significant resistance to break when we do get above that on the total market cap. When we do get that alt rally, it's the 10-cent area which is going to be very, very difficult to break. We tried it here. We touched upon it there. We fell right back down almost by about 45%. Back up to 10 again, and then wiggling around, and then our final push here before we completely collapsed, actually forming the death cross here. But that again coincides with pretty much the entire market, where we found our death cross around this level. So you can see how, looking at these two charts in alignment, they really do match up with the entire market cap of alts and ADA in general. Now ADA is one of those top coins really with a relatively big market cap in comparison to other coins, and it's a coin with, I mean, I'm not one for fundamentals, but it's one of those that's basically still relatively in development, and it's not come to fruition. There's a lot of things from what I can see that are in the pipeline for it, but that pipeline seems to just be going on and on and on and on. Now fundamentals aren't something I can account for, but what I can account for is this chart here and this chart here, and at the moment we're right back down to where we were in April before we launched. I mean, it's a full retracement basically. Now, as the entire market, including Bitcoin, appears to be picking up a little bit now, and only a little bit, because there is a chance that Bitcoin will retrace down into the 8,000s or maybe lower. We're still early days at the moment to see if it can recover. It's only when Bitcoin starts to get into and above that 11,200 area that I would be confident in saying that yes, there is a kind of a recovery now for Bitcoin, and for the rest of the market will generally follow that. Now, when we're looking at Satoshi values in the short term, while Bitcoin's making those large gains, Sats will be sort of demolished because Bitcoin's likely to move harder and faster, and you'd probably be better off having your money in Bitcoin for those moves. However, when we get closer to these levels here and we break above this 200 EMA on this chart here, not so much on this one, but on this one, is a good indicator as to how the rest of the alt market is gonna follow suit. And I would expect that ADA will make its way back up to 10 cent. This will be around January. By January next year, at some point within January, we'll have seen a 10 cent ADA, because judging by the way that this chart is going, and we're looking at it on a daily, so nothing has happened yet. We've been rejected several times now from this 200 EMA, and it's only once we have broken above it can we begin to consider a significant alt season. At the moment, we're almost 3% down for the day, but look where we were down from. We were rejected once again from this 200 EMA, and you can see what happens when we break above it. Let's get rid of that annoying thing there. You break above it, it does turn to support, and we will be looking at something similar to this when we get here. But what I will say is that by the time we get to this level here and we have broken above it, that 200 EMA will be a little higher than this, and this move will be a little bit more significant. So we are looking to reach that 10 cent area again. And what I will say is that if we do break above the 10 cent, because when we look at ADA, okay, we look at the 10 cent area. I've not got the full chart here, but the 10 cent area is where we started to fall down big time from on our demise in 2018, and we've not really broken above it. We had a few wicks above it here before the collapse, but when we do break above that 10 cent area, we will see some significant gains from that point onwards. We need to see that form probably a little bit more constructive than this. The rest of the market will take it up there, but what we don't want to see is Bitcoin going parabolic. We would like to see the market taking incremental steps up, which I think is what's going to happen next year. I don't expect Bitcoin or the market to really just kind of explode the way it did at the beginning of this year. Basically, that just in a way it kind of almost destroyed itself because it went up to way too fast. But the market in general is different now. Back in the olden days, which is not that long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have things like Bybit and Bitmax, and we didn't have 100x leverage. We didn't have any of those sort of things, and to be honest, we didn't really have many altcoins. So the amount of, you call it leveraged money, borrowed money that goes on top of alts, and goes on top of Bitcoin, is massive. And you look at the market cap of certain coins, especially things like Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that that's the amount of money that's actually in a Bitcoin. It also means the amount of money that's been lent to trade, such as margin trading, things like that with Bitcoin. We didn't have any of that before. So to have big, massive, strong, huge parabolic moves like we did with Bitcoin at the beginning of this year is probably something that's likely to be expected. However, I think what we really need to see next year is we need to see sustained growth. We don't want to be seeing huge, big runs up of, $3,000 in a day, which I'm afraid we probably will start having towards the end as the price of a Bitcoin gets higher. $3,000 won't be much. $3,000 will be just over a 2% move or something. But generally speaking, that's not what we want to see from next year. We want to see smaller, slower, incremental steps up with Bitcoin, which will in turn create larger steps with altcoins. And ADA, once it gets to that 10 cent area, which will be at the beginning of next year, I would imagine, we'll probably start to see bigger moves. By the end of next year, it's very difficult to say. Fundamentals do play a part in these coins. But by the time we've reached 10 cents and we've turned 10 cent into a support, we will see much larger, much faster growth with something like ADA. So in the short term, we look like we're accumulating, like we accumulated at this level before. We accumulated here several months, looks like to me around about 4 to 5 months. We accumulated at the level that we're pretty much at right now, before the market picked up and exploded. So as I say, January I would expect to see some really big moves made by alts. Not necessarily Bitcoin, but we will see big moves with Bitcoin, obviously. But alts will pick up massively according to the way that this chart reads, and then ADA will have doubled, I'd say, within about 2 to 3 months, it will have doubled and got to that 10 cent level, and hopefully stayed there, because it's only when it stays there we'll start to see some real big moves. We need to form this golden cross here. At the moment, we're trading pretty much beneath most moving averages of importance. You know, we've been supported on the green 50 exponential, which is fine. But if we break down beneath there, you know, it wouldn't surprise me at all. We're definitely having a down day at the moment, and Bitcoin is still indecisive. It could come back down to 8,000 or lower. There is still that chance that will happen. But my eyes are on this chart. This chart will dictate altcoins, and ADA has proven itself to be very, very reactive to the crypto market, almost like a perfectly in the middle, you know, reaction. So whatever we see on this, we will see on ADA. But again, let's not get too excited about it until it reaches that 10 cent and turns it to support. But I said it before, I'll say it again. ADA needs to get to 10 cent and break it before we actually see some really big, bold moves. And I believe that next year altcoins will start to really recover and outperform Bitcoin. But at the moment, the chart's, you know, just recovering. It's coming out of a huge bearish move, but the good thing is we are coming out of it, but it's going to take a couple of months before that is triggered. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there, and thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice evening. Take it easy.